Another Jeeping with Cool Guy video. What else have you got to do with your time? On today's episode of Jeeping with Cool Guy, we're going to put together the tailgate for the CJ7. It's really not an elaborate process, but there's a couple things that you should know about before, one, you take the thing apart, meaning the gasket and the hinges and all the other things to keep and things to look out for. This last week I just started painting the CJ7, so I've got all the body components outside of the tub sanded down, and I'm working on priming, and the tailgate is the first one that I finished. It's got the hood over here, so let's go through the tailgate and talk about this real quick. I can't tell you how many times I look up on these Facebook forums and these people that have restored their Jeep and done a really nice job of it, or close to it, but they've always got the tailgate hinges upside down. Absolutely cracks me up. So here's your rear tailgate hinge. All the hinges, doors, the windshield, the tailgate, and the hood were all made by one company. And the way that you can tell that they were original, they have this stamp on them. See that right there? That will be either on the inner or the outer facing of the hinge. The tailgate hinge goes this way, meaning that the piece with the fold faces up. This is what mounts onto the body. So tailgate, body. Not like this, like you see some people do, like this. Why is that? It's so that when you flip this down, this part fits over the part of the body where this sticks out just a little bit from the tailgate, and it also folds the thing all the way down so that you have a nice level surface of the rear of the tub and back side of the tailgate. This one's already been powder coated white, and then I primered it, and then I painted all the hinges, and then I also did all of the nuts and bolts. So these are T40 torque head bolts. I will recommend having painted all of this stuff, primered and painted it. You're going to have a pretty thick coat of stuff on here, and a lot of that's going to wind up getting into the threads unless you put in something that would block the paint out. If you didn't, because I wanted to get a nice, really good, solid amount of paint on here, fill in everything that I possibly could, I'm going to just do another rethread of this, recut the threads, just to make sure that I can get all the paint out of it, so I don't want to bind up the threads upon assembly. So now I'm going to just assemble this. Let's just show you what it looks like and how it's oriented. So I'm not going to tighten these things down too tight right now. Just enough to where I guess you could call it finger tight. The painting I did was 4 days ago, 5 days ago. And it's really going to take a few weeks for this stuff to fully cure. And the last thing I want to do is to screw this thing down tight and then kind of press into the paint, and then you get this weird ridge around all of the seams. And it just doesn't look very good. So I'm just going to tighten this down just to where start getting a little bit of resistance about there, and then we're good to go. So that's how it looks. So now let's move on to the other parts. Give this a flip over. Oh, one last thing I wanted to show you about these hinges. This goes for the windshield hinge too, along with the tailgate hinge. There is a little hole drilled in the back of the hinge, and that is for oil drips. So basically what you want to do is once every so often drop some 3-in-1 oil in here, and that will keep your hinge nice and loose and rust free. The original owner had it Z-barred way back in like 81, I can't remember. I have to go back and check my records. So there were 8 of these holes in the back of this tailgate, and they were pretty big holes. Z-Bart used to drill like a 1/2 inch hole, a 3/8 inch hole, and then blow the stuff in there. So I used Eastwood's frame coating, internal frame coating, and just blasted a whole can of it on the inside of this. So I figured with the Z-Bart that was already in there and the Eastwood internal frame coating, this thing is never going to rust out from the inside. And then I also did that along all of the seams, anywhere that water could possibly get, and then painted the whole thing, primered and painted it. But the things that I really want to call out here is this gasket. So if you're going to replace the gasket, you don't really need to save anything on it, sans these little plastic pins that go in the top hole of the tailgate. Right there. The tailgate seal that I went with, gasket, is made by Fairchild. I know Quadratec makes one, Omix Eta makes one, but Fairchild, from what I've seen, and the quality is so much better than anything that Crown or Omix Eta puts together. It's just the rubber's better. It seems to be more durable. It's better form fitting. But anyways, when you're installing this, there are these little plastic clips that go inside of the holes all the way around the tailgate. Those come with the seal. These little plastic pins do not. So when you take this thing off, you can get rid of everything on here. Keep those pins. If you happen to have thrown it out, you can get, I think it's a GM body trim pin at AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Advance Auto, and that fits perfectly in there too. That's ultimately what I had to do. Let's move on to the latch. It consists of 3 pieces. The main bolt, mounting bolt, with a flange on it. So this is kind of a specialty thing. You're not going to find a replacement for this. You can find replacements for it. What I mean is that you're not going to find something at the hardware store for it. A wave washer that provides tension, kind of pressure tension, between the bolt, the latch, and the tailgate, and the lever itself. I've already powder coated all of these things or oil treated the bolt, so this is pretty much waterproof. The other thing I did is I took a little bit of that super lube that I've done and showed you in other videos, and I put a little bit on the inside of this wave washer, so this has got a little bit of extra lubrication in there. And then again, this is a T40 torque head bolt, and this just mounts down into here. And you do not need to go super tight with this. Actually, super tight does not actually help you out, because that all it does is it presses down on the wave washer more than you need to. So when you're actually getting this thing set in there, make sure that you've got the wave washer perfectly around that flange, and the bolt fits right down into the hole on the latch. And then let's take this down to where it gets tight, and if you can't move it, back it off just a touch. There. Should be nice and easy to rotate. Last but not least is the cable hinge. So this consists of this bracket with the welded nut in place and 2 small T30 torque head bolts. They mount into the holes on the side of the tailgate, and this is where the drop cable actually attaches to. That will be another episode when we actually put the body all back together. So all you need to do with this is to insert these into these holes. You could probably do this before you put the gasket on and make it a little bit easier, but then you can tighten these things down to, I think it's 23 foot-pounds, and then you should be torqued in properly. Right, that's the reassembly of the tailgate. Hopefully yours is in good a shape as this one was. This was like the one piece outside of the grill on this dilapidated CJ7, the 79 Golden Eagle, that wasn't a complete rust bucket. So this thing actually came out really well. I know that the Z-bar holes are a little strange. They were too big of a hole for me to want to really fill in, and there were also indentations on it. So I am trying to use as minimal body filler on this Jeep as I possibly can. So if there's anything like a metal scratch, then I would fill that in with the Bondo. But even on this thing, there were just like a couple little pinholes that I filled up with Bondo, but this thing is basically body filler free, which to me, I'm kind of proud of. Anyways, so that's another exciting episode of Jeeping with Cool Guy as we reassemble the tailgate. And really the big thing is this hinge. This is the thing that gets everybody. I don't understand why, but it seems to be very confusing. Anyways, like and subscribe. See you next time.